once again, everybody, for showing up tonight. We have a really nice, good sized group here in the building and we are building also a nice sized group on Zoom first. Once again, thank you everybody for joining. Also, really a big thank you to everybody who has submitted images for this competition. I think the last couple of the competitions we had somewhere between 40 and 60 images or something like that. Tonight we got a whopping 95 or 96, something like that. So it's a real good turnout. I think maybe
I could come up with 6 more to make it over 100.
get us to 100. I think this is right at the record. I think one other time we had 92 or something like that.
Yeah.
So maybe it was Jeff Johnson's name that went out there that, brought in a big audience in that. But it was I'll say just real quick, and I'll make more mention of him later in that. But thank you, Jeff, for joining us tonight. Fairly short notice in that agreed to judge for us tonight. Reflections, let's see, we've got reflections, shadows, negative space, and silhouettes. So it's 4 categories. Apologize, I know the last email went out, we didn't have shadows in that one, but there was a prior email that had gone out with all of our competition themes, and we had shadows on them. So that was my error. I didn't include that one in the latest email, but for those that submit something with shadows, those are accepted tonight as well. I just want to mention here real quickly a few of the other upcoming events that we've got. Actually, I'll just keep this brief because we want to get to the images in that. But on September 21st, which is 2 weeks from tonight, we've got Vic Moss presenting on drones. So hopefully he'll teach me how to turn mine on. I've had mine for I think you have to hit the top button twice or something like that.
He's not a miracle worker.
So once I turn it on, I'm sure I'll be able to.
Are there any 8-year-olds in your neighborhood?
No, they won't be able to show me how to do that.
His dog eats them all.
Correct, right. So anyways, a good event that we've got planned again in 2 weeks, Vic Moss on the drones. A couple of other meetings that we will have before this next one, but I wanted to mention real quick also the workshop that will be here at Lone Tree Civic Center. That's with Glenn Randall. I think I saw today an email that he's sort of wrapping up a lot of his teaching and workshops and so forth. So this will be one of the last times that he will be giving this type of a program. But that will be Saturday, November 5th. It's an all-day event here at the Lone Tree Civic Center.
I think that is his last.
Is it his very final one? Okay, okay.
And it's on.
It's on it, right? It's, yeah,
Oh, the subject.
Subject.
landscapes.
Oh.
Sorry about
He's
that.
very
Landscape
thorough. It's a
Right.
very, and I think you get a copy of his book too. I believe that's included, and it was only $99, which really is a pretty good deal.
Right, right. Let's see here. Real quick, I want to do a quick introduction of Jeff Johnson. We could otherwise spend all night doing this part of it. But again, Jeff Johnson of Soul Road Trips. Landscape photography workshops is primarily what he does, many different locations, including we just got back from Alaska, got another one of those ones next year. All around Utah, Colorado, Cuba. I think he's mentioned Cuba's coming up next year. So I'll let you kind of run through some of the ones that you have there. I know later in September and early October, you have what, Tetons and.
I don't remember. I gotta look at the list.
There you go. So again, many great workshops that he has coming up. And I just want to again personally thank Jeff for coming tonight. I know, you know, while I say he specializes in the landscapes, he also, I think, knows everything about all genres of photography. So if you have any questions at any time on any different topics and so forth, I'm sure he'll be glad to give you answers that make a lot of sense. I know he's somebody who I've learned quite a bit from over the years. Another thing I wanted to mention real quick, something that Jeff is involved with, happens to be also, you know, again, be sure and sign up for Glenn Randall's landscape photography workshop. But thought I mentioned that Jeff also will be chairing for professional photographers of Colorado. There's an event that's over that same weekend. It's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, with a pre-conference event on that Thursday. But on the Sunday part of it, Jeff heads up they have a print competition, a statewide print competition. So some of the things that you'll hear him talk about tonight and so forth are some of the same types of things that we have a group of, not Jeff, but 5 judges from the PPA that will be judging images in various genres and so forth for that state conference. And that will be on Sunday, November 6th. A couple of other things that we got, speakers that we presented the other days. There's, let's see, in addition to Jeff presenting on Friday, landscapes, got Richard Sturdivant, Megan DePiro, and Shannon Squires from down in Colorado Springs. So a big lineup again over that same weekend. So with that, like I said, we've got a lot of images tonight, so don't want to take up too much time. Jeff, anything that I missed there as far as other things that you've got coming up?
I got a lot coming up, but I can talk to you about it later. No, thank you for the introduction. I appreciate being back here. It's been a couple of years. Looking forward to, and I hear this, how many, 94, maybe 96. We got a busy night tonight, so. Okay, so good bunch of images, everybody. I congratulate you on a lot of nice work. I'm gonna go through, just make some quick comments and throw some scores at you. And like that. So I'll again ask if you wouldn't mind reading titles for me.
No. Oh, this is Alone in Traffic.
Great concept. I love when you get an image that tells a story. Great silhouette, the point of view going to the car windows gives us a lot of great depth of field. But we still come back to this silhouette driver who's stuck in traffic. So I'll give this an 8.
Arriving for the show.
Again, nice eye to catch this view of this reflection of the party that's in a very blasé piece of equipment in the trailer, yet there's the action and the reflection. So good eye, nice placement. I'll give this a 7.
Cascade Falls.
Again, we have really great movement here. We got a lot of great lines. I'll just look at this distance here.
If you need to go up there, that's easier to.
That's right. The diagonals on the rocks, the top of the rocks and all through the rocks, then we got the vertical line, the waterfall, and the clouds give us some great depth. Just a word of the top of the waterfall, which is kind of where we tend to start our viewing, is right smack in the middle, kind of a bullseye, kind of composition. Not necessarily wrong, just it ends up being kind of loses its power because you have this beautiful waterfall, but it's just right smack in the middle. And sometimes it again just kind of loses power. So I'll give it a 7.
Castlewood Bridge.
Nice capture, but I like the angle, shooting a little bit of the angle of the bridge. It gives us more depth of the bridge. The creek running through the bottom of the scene brings us into the scene. Nice composition. The sky color, and I'll talk about it. I don't know if we're seeing it because of the computer. It's a very unnatural blue. When you saturate colors, watching that kind of thing, but I'll give this a 7.
Corkscrew Swamp.
Good capture here. I like the composition, very circular, the repetition here of the reflection in the water. Nice detail throughout with colors. Just a really nice, allows your eye to go around and around the scene. I can't decide, I can't see from here. Is that somebody sitting on the, right there? There's somebody sitting on the line. Anyways, it kind of brings us back to that spot. So it gives us a place to rest for a moment. So I guess it's an 8.
Cosmic Reflections.
This one really caught my eye. Just a great perspective. I mean, it's not knowing exactly what it is. Of course, we can guess, but that's not the point. I think the color theme throughout is really pretty cool, from the cool tones on the left to the warm tones. We've got lines, it's got a lot going on. It's very busy, but it still captures the eye. It lets you wander around there very nicely. I'm going to give this one a 9. It's very strong.
Destination Unknown.
Get another great title because it certainly pulls you in. We've got the lines, feeling of the gold green color that kind of pulls it in the center. Where are we going? It just gives you a lot of mystery to this and good symmetry throughout this one. We'll give this an 8.
Disagreement in Symmetry.
This one caught my eye. I really like the title, pulling in the composition with the story. You got these two fellas in the middle who are kind of going at it. The guys on the left are a little more calm. The guys on the right are a little bit more full of action here. I even like that angle of the whatever the wall they're standing on. Nice silhouettes, clean, good blue. I'll give this one a 9. Very nice job. Very strong.
Gail.
Consider it skipped.
Yeah.
Gail.
Since we have.
Very nice capture of this young lady, kind of a unique portrait, if you will, of the environment. I like the placement of the image of the young lady in the trellis there. And even the sky, which dominates the scene, is done nicely. So your eye wanders up through there, but comes back down to this brilliant red dress. I would like to her pose, even though she's got a lean to it. I would like to have seen her shoulders turn to the camera a little bit more to show just a little more across the bodice, still leaving her head in profile. It would just give the image a little more action. When you pose a subject, it's great to have the shoulders and the hips going in different directions. It just gives you some minor point, but I'll definitely give this a 9. It's just very well thought out.
Golden Splendor.
Yeah, I'd like to wake up to this every morning. What a great capture here. It's imagine sitting there on the edge of the pond there, just drinking in all that beautiful. Look at the colors. We go from cool tones of the far distance to the warm tones of the trees, the reflection. It's hard because sometimes we put the reflection line in the middle and it tends to cut the image in half sometimes. This doesn't do that because of the log coming off the beach over there, not the beach, off the bank. It tends to do this. So I'm gonna give this an 8. Great color palette.
Here.
Again, a great, just a good eye for. So I'm sort of looking at it. Are we inverted here? I know it's a reflection, but it's hard to tell. It doesn't really matter though. That's the cool thing about it. That's why I like this. The placement of here is in a good spot. It's nice in the lower third. The blue lights kind of pull us into the blue at the top. Beautiful color palette throughout. This is just a great abstract capture. Throwing the word here and there, I think just brings us back to reality, but with a very surreal feel. I want to give this one a 10. This just really caught my eye when it came through the first time. Nice job.
Kathy. Katie.
Okay. That makes sense. Again, tough capture. I mean, to get this close, to be able to enlarge it this much and have it be crisp and sharp. Even the composition, I think, is nice because you've got the whole, let's say the whole bird. I need to quit. The whole bug off to the right, so it's letting us come into the scene. The background is handled nice. It's just very subtle. The only thing I can say down about it is that the tail is awful close to that right edge. It just makes it a little bit tense. We've got a really quite a casual and soft kind of a presentation. Anytime you bring a subject matter to the edge of your image, it creates tension. So it's kind of a little conflicting there. But I will give this an 8.
Log and Teeth.
That's a great title. And you sure see those teeth, man. This should be a Colgate commercial here. But just a really beautiful patterns in the water that lead us right back to the, I don't know, I'm not as good as this croc or a gator, I don't know. This animal here, but good title. You know, a lot of times you don't see that view of the mouth open, but the line through it is strong. Tough exposure with the bright sunlight, but just really, I think you handle this well. I'm gonna give this one a 9. It's just really nice.
Moving at High Speed.
So when this came out before, I kind of struggled with what it is. Not that that really matters, because it's a great abstract. Beautiful color palette. Look at the cool tones, so the warm tones on the right side of the background. Highlights are, you know, specular highlights. There's not going to be details in those, so that's okay. Still lots of nice detail. It's just a great abstract piece. I like this. I'm going to give this a 9. Whatever it is, it's cool.
Reflections of a City.
Again, as I mentioned before, a lot of times when you have your horizon line of your reflections across the middle, it can cause boring, monotonous kind of look. This was great because you had the angle of the bank and the angle of the bridge coming back. Nice reflection. Reflections are soft, so the buildings stand out more. Nice clouds. It feels a little underexposed. I'm wishing there was a little stronger black in there. But I think it's a neat idea. So I will give this an 8 as well.
Santa Fe.
Simple, but right to the point. I mean, look at the strong lines of the building and right up to the cross, the colors, beautiful color harmony. From the sky to the peachy tones of the building, good detail throughout. You got a deep shadow, you got a bright highlight. The zones are handled very well. Just a very simple but very strong composition. I'm gonna give this a 9.
Smoky Morning Sunrise.
Good title too on this because it really gives us that feeling of a little more of a what's going on kind of thing other than just sunrise. Silhouettes are played out real well. There's good positioning, like the spaces between the different, again, it gives us groups of the buildings. The sun is in a great spot. It just tells the tale right through there of this beautiful morning here. I think this is just done really well, and quality wise, I'm gonna give this a 10. It's very strong.
Stirring Up Reflections.
When this first came up before, I had to stop for a second and just get a feel, but it's a very surreal feeling, but look at the movement throughout from the drip, the circles of the, whatever dropped into the water in the first place, but very fine lines of texture across the water all the way through, and yet it seems one-dimensional, and then the hand comes in there, and it's almost a little spooky. Just a great story. Beautiful tones throughout. I mean, there's detail through the blacks, and it doesn't really get into the whites, so it's just a very short range of blacks and whites. Just really strong. I'll give this one a 10. Very, very well done. Very artsy.
Sunshine in the Pool.
Yes, it is. That's funny, when this came up before, it reminded me of beautiful kids standing in front of the swimming pool waiting for mom. Yeah, just say, go ahead and jump in. Again, a great capture of getting this texture, this surreal kind of feel. It's hard to focus on the top of the water, the rays of the sun, the bottom of the pool or the pond, whatever. It's just very nice composition. There's really not a focal point. The whole image is. That happens a lot of times. You don't have to have that one specific area. If you want to say so, maybe kind of a little bit of the blurrish area in the upper right. But again, I just think it's handled very well. It's a great monochrome. I'll give this one a 10. It's just really strong. You see this hanging on the wall of some gym or something. That just good job.
Through the Looking Glass. Oh.
Good eye on the part of the photographer. I mean, just to see something like this, doesn't matter whether they set this up, did the drop themselves, or just saw it. It's just still a very good capture. Beautiful scene in the drop. The drop looks like it's got some substance. It's not just this little tiny drop. So I'm glad you did that. And the supporting imagery with it is just becomes this very soft background of just support. I think if you would have cropped it up above the blue and just had the reflection in the ball of the bubble hanging there, it wouldn't have been as strong. This gives some good depth. I'll give this a 9. Very, very good eye there.
Vic Church.
I'm sorry, say that again?
Vic Church.
Vic Church. Okay. Good composition, good placement on the position of the church. If you use our rule of thirds, it's in a nice spot on the bottom left. We've got the bottom, most of the foreground here, the ground is in the bottom third. A couple of things that kept me from going a higher score. It just seems like it's I think the exposure is an issue. It's a little bit soft. There's not much detail, much contrast. And then it looks like there's been some work around the church itself. I see a little bit of a glow around the steeple, just kind of details of not the best handling of it. The weight looks almost unreal in there. Minor things. But again, the scene is great. Composition is very strong. Maybe even look at this as cropping down on the sky, you know, making it longer, narrow. I think you could have something a little stronger, but I think we'll give this a 7.
Okay, and last one's Waiting for Sunset.
Again, it's conjured up a nice story. I'm glad you gave us a little bit of a cloud background. It gives us some depth. Lots of movement in the trees, but all silhouette. We still go right back to the bird. And I might have taken that little bit of the stem sticking up on the bird's back. Looks like we have a skewered bird for dinner here. Sorry, I'm making a joke. Image I don't mean to be mean. But good clean silhouette. You can see the feathers. It's sharp. Very nicely done. I'll give this an 8.
Okay, you had 3 10s, I think, in this category here. That's
Do you want me to choose a?
swimming
Or is-
pool,
is the
yes.
the sunrise. I don't remember one. It's almost a 3.
Yeah,
3 in a row there.
stirring up reflections.
No, he gave the gear at 10 too. There's 4 10.
Number 18,
Yeah,
Or
it's right here.
was it number 18 and 10?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, 18, 19, and 20, and 6.
And 6.
You want me to pick what,
The favorite out of
Just one.
those, just one out of.
okay. Yeah. This is where it gets tough.
Hit the one next to it, Karina.
Which one's it?
The
not the
XY, one
XY,
right
but
next to
right
the
next to
XY.
The XY?
No, the one next to it, to the right of it. That'll show them all.
That's right. I know which one I choose.
Okay. Which one are you gonna choose?
The, well, let me look at the other 2 real quick.
Okay.
It's this right here. But. Next to it.
Okay, there we go.
There we go. Yeah, I think, for the number 1, number 10 here. Let's do the black and white reflection of the hand and then that's just creepy. Right? Which one is that?
It's stirring up reflections.
Go G for grid.
Stirring up reflections, yeah, that's the.
Nice work. My old joke about this is the only problem with this one is that down the bottom right corner, it should say Jeff Johnson, then would be an 11.
Okay, this one's a man and his dog.
Okay, so great concept. I love the capture, the silhouette, the color, the sunlight, all that stuff is good. I would love to have seen them not be in the glare of the sun. Especially your title being a man and his dog. Again, I would just like to see them just to the side, just off, but I think the whole concept is well done. I'll give it a 7.
Caramel swirl.
Get another great, good abstract here, nice color. Coordinating colors here between the blues and the orangey gold. Again, one of these images is not really a focal point, doesn't have to be. The whole image itself is a focal point. Again, these are the kind of images that work well in offices and hotels and things because they're unidentifiable, but they're very beautiful art pieces. So just the more I look at this, I like this one. I'll give this a 9. It's very strong, very well done.
Chatfield reflection.
Beautiful colors here, nice to capture again from the warm tones of the reflection in the water up to the cool tones of the sky. We've covered the whole rainbow there pretty well. Again, I will say that the horizon line just, I mean, it does cut it in half. And I know that that's what happens, but sometimes you need to bring the bottom up or the top down or something. And just kind of off, because what it does is it cuts the image in half and makes the viewer a little bit like, well, where should I go? Beautiful colors, good capture. We'll give it an 8. But just something to go back and look at the cropping and maybe give us a little more of the sky or a little more of the water. See what you think.
This one's Christmas Star.
Great color harmony here between the yellows and the blues. Like the nice little tip. I think sometimes that takes it to that abstract, to that artsy feeling was instead of having everything be perfectly straight. Great detail throughout the globe. I'm looking at it on the computer here. The colors are just the gold and yellow is just very deep and rich, very strong. Again, a piece I could see hanging on somebody's wall. Yeah, and then what's I think offsets it nice is the kind of the black shadow triangle on the lower left. Gives us some depth that we'll see. I'm gonna give this a 10. This is really speaking to me as I look at it. Nice job. Very simple, very real good.
Closer Encounters.
Again, good thought on the title there. Gives us a story, something we can relate to from movies we've seen. Good capture. Very nice, clean view of the Milky Way. I'm seeing a bit of a halo on the silhouette of the ground and the rock itself, the tower itself to the background. Very minor, but it's just those kind of things you need to look out for when you go to competition. Very, very minor, but it's something to be easily fixed. But the story is great. The composition is strong. I maybe would even have cropped off the left side of that bunch of trees over there. It just to keep pulling my eye over there, and it's not really helping the story because I go from the Milky Way to the tower, even to the trees on the right, and then back up through that. So it's a nice triangle. Trees on the left hold me over just a little bit too much. I will give it an 8, but try cropping that. Just see what you think. Crop off that left side a little bit, or get rid of those trees. And then also, I think it would be good to maybe not have the tower right in the middle of the composition. So maybe crop it on the left about maybe a step to the right. Did you get the story?
Yeah.
Don't Look Behind You.
Again, a great story. That's to me what I think is really takes an image up in the score is when that first thing we hear is the title, and then we see the image, and it makes us think in that direction. And I think it's just a great because you got a lot of faces and stories and things going on, and yet not really a specific one face that pulls us in. So it lets us kind of wonder what is it that I'm not supposed to know or look at or so on. I like the little bit of an angle on the wall, not shooting straight into it. Just a very nicely done. I'll give this an 8.
Fall Lean.
Again, kind of a very nice play on words for an image. Now, again, here's one where I was talking about the horizon line across the middle. This works very well because it's there, but it's subtle enough because of the trees, because of the curvature of the trees that follows down in the water. And then you have that the golder area, right? Not quite in the middle, just to the right of center. That tree bends back the other way to give it some, I don't want to use that word without the juxtaposition to the whole composition. We get the movement of the other trees curve, and then this one that counteracts that. And then even that one little group of gold to the right there just kind of gives us some balance. If you look at the diagonal line across the top of the trees down to that, same with the reflection in the water. Very strong. I would love to have seen a little bit more color saturation. It's knowing how those trees can be, again, a minor thing, but maybe just pumping up that yellow and separating the greens just a little bit in the evergreens and that. But I think this is definitely a 10. Really, really enjoy this. Good eye.
First on the Lake.
Again, another great story here because it really shows that these guys are the first ones out there. And if you've ever done that, you know that that's the big challenge is to be the first one out there. Not that you catch more fish, but I think I'd like to have seen it cropped up a little bit on the bottom. It's putting them a little bit too much in the middle. Again, there's a lot of real estate, a lot of things to look at. maybe even just cropping up a quarter of the way in the bottom, I think would maybe just give them a little bit more strength on the bottom left to get them, that's really picky. But wow, he handled the highlights real well, the color tones, the blues and the golds, nice color palette, and good strong silhouettes. I'm gonna give this a 10. The more I look at this, the more the colder I get. Good job.
For the love of sun.
What really impressed me about this image when it came up before was the detail that you've left in the foreground. That's hard. I mean, you've got really a nice silhouette, nice capture of the sun, the ray patterns coming to the trees. It's really, I think, more of patterns of the branches and then the lights just lighting them up because there's a nice movement from the sun down. It's almost like a gold ribbon hanging there in the tree. But then having the depth of the detail in the foreground is just very strong. Yeah, it's a good story. It's a very pleasing image. I'll give us an 8.
Haystack ripples.
One of these captures is you just have to sit and listen to the surf. Feel the warmth at the end of the day there. Love the positioning of the rocks off to the side. It gives us just a nice movement from the bottom left and the upper left coming into these rocks. The main big rock on the right just kind of stops us there. Color harmony is just beautiful throughout. You know, look at this. Well, you could have, but no, you didn't need to. You nailed it. This is awesome. This is a 10 for sure. Very nice job.
Howdy.
What I like about this mostly is that the head of this little deer is kind of off to the right, like it's actually peeking around the corner, like you just caught him grabbing a snack. And the background's handled very nicely. It's there. It's very subtle, but it's not just blown out white nothing. So it gives us a little bit of depth. It's a nice portrait, if you will, candid portrait of this guy caught in the middle of. It looks like you got his expression, like you get his fingers caught in a cookie jar, so to speak. Yeah, I think I'll give this a 9. It's just really a neat piece. Good job.
It's a big world out there.
Again, the title really plays it well. I think it gives us that feeling of as we know, the size of it. Let's see, is this a dragonfly or a damsel? This is a dragonfly. With this flower, I'm wondering when it came out before, I was looking at cropping and how it would be even more powerful. I think if you crop in pretty strongly on both sides, you just have the flower, the dragonfly, the green base, and just a little bit of it. I think it just makes it even more powerful. Still gives you the feeling of it's a big world. But as it is, I just keep being pulled way off to the left, and that's the brightest part of the scene. Anyways, I'll give it an 8, but I just like your point of view. It's very well done.
Millennium Bridge.
I have to say, well, first of all, this is a no-no to say all the times we've seen this thing, but this is so unique. I mean, we've all seen the bridge, you've all photographed it, but to stand and look at it, it took me a while to figure out what part of the bridge. But that's good. I mean, I love the abstract, the color harmony throughout. The pinks and the magentas at the top, to the purpley blues in the middle. I guess that word would be violet. Then we get some kind of greens down towards the bottom. The movement throughout, again, a scene where you don't really, your eye doesn't land on one spot to start with, but it continues through. The only thing I was going to say is there's this white spot on the left, that's the cursor. So never mind that. Very strong abstract piece, beautiful color harmony. Again, I can see this hanging big in a hotel or office somewhere. This is going to be a 10. Nice job.
Warning at the Tarn.
We definitely have, again, you get that feeling of standing there and feeling the cool breeze in the morning there. where the sun hits you and just, loving the rocks. The lack of dense, or I should have extreme amount of density in the shadows and the trees and the bushes now. If it's, I apologize if this is supposed to be a silhouette, but it's not enough of a scene for me to look at as being silhouette. The mountains and the water take over the scene so much that I'm thinking you're, and this is just me guessing. Your topic of silhouette would make the subject matter be more prominent. Anyways, having said that, I think it's a good capture. But let's go with the 7 on this because I think it's kind of, if that's, and again, you're gonna have to call me and chew me out if it's not right. But I feel like it's supposed to be for silhouette, it's not quite hitting that. Top.
In shadows. When we get
Shadows.
that falls more into that one.
Morning hints,
Morning what?
hints.
Hints? Just makes me wanna stand there and enjoy the scene for a little bit. Beautiful depth throughout, good gradation and that, the tones throughout the hills there, and then the quite difference in color from the sky down. I think I'm gonna give this an 8. I think it's got a good story. The color, I'm kind of fighting the colors over, they just seem just a little bit unnatural. But what I'm trying to decide is if that's okay or not. So I'll let you know in a couple of weeks when I figure it out. But as it sits, like that's how we're supposed to judge. I think it is an 8.
Okay, Molten Bridge,
This is very cool. It just really gives, it plays up the bridge nicely as a subject matter, soft reflection, beautiful colors of the water. The 3 trees on the left give us a nice frame to keep us back into the bridge. It really makes you feel the height and just the kind of almost a spooky beauty of this area in here. Very strong. I like this a lot. I think we'll go with a 9 on this one. Very well done.
Mountain Reflection,
So again, we got a nice color palette here, the green of the leaves, the blue of the sky, and the shadows. Kind of lost some detail on the highlights of the reflection. So it just kind of gives us these white blobs. I'd like to see a little bit more of the mountain, I think, to really give it more of a, I don't know, making the mountain reflection. The grasses and everything in the foreground are pretty prominent. So because that'll give this a 7.
Mountain Sunset,
Hang on, quick drink. So this composition is very cool, very good eye, very strong. The color harmony throughout this is really unique and the cool palettes. And then we have just a little bit of the golds reflection. I'm sorry, tell me the name again.
Mountain Sunset.
Okay, Mountain Sunset. And I see where you're going with it, and the title kind of threw me a little bit because, yeah, we can guess those are mountains back there. They're not prominent enough in the image for that to me to have been the main thing. I don't have a title instead, and this is just me. And I do see that they are mountains, but they're not clear enough, I think, to make them to be the title. So because of that, I'm gonna go with a 7.
Mysterious,
Yeah, definitely. Great composition here, playing really up the open space that the sky and then having the moon just kind of hovering overhead definitely gives us this mysterious kind of feeling, already the theme of Stonehenge or Carhenge or whatever. But just nicely done, really a neat, unique piece on this. I'll give this a 9.
Puff,
Clever title. nice, I'll say nice placement of the clouds, like you can do that. Maybe you did, doesn't matter. But it kind of gives us a nice little story of, are these just clouds or did they come out of the chimney? There's just a nice little texture in the sky up to the right. So it's not just, it just goes solid, nothing. So it gives us a chance to come in with the building, with the clouds back to the building, and you can kind of wander around with a nice color harmony between the yellow and the blue. I'll give this an 8.
Reflecting autumn.
Beautiful colors, nice reflecting. I like that they're not, we know what those are, but they're not sharp images, so it lets it be a little more abstract. The curve of the water is quite nice. The one drawback for me, the one evergreen, the bright, darkest part of the scene up in the upper right, it just keeps pulling my eye to it, which necessarily isn't terrible, but I kind of try to view it without that being there. I think we'd have a nice painted abstract feeling here. But I will give it an 8.
Reflections of me.
So I guess I don't understand the title. But I mean, is there somebody in the picture there? Or is it just all the birds? So, okay, so getting past, I'm sorry, I don't understand the title. But having said that, I mean, just look at the detail in this. This is crisp, this is sharp, there's detail through the highlights, even the water. I think I maybe would like to have seen it cropped down just a little bit from the top, because the little bits of grasses that are reflecting at the very top pull my eye up there. Whereas if you just crop down below that, I think it would be just a little stronger, pull us back into the birds. But nice composition. It's something you can just keep looking at. Again, there's not necessarily one focal point, so it allows you to move around from bird to bird. And so I'll give this a 9. I think this has some really strong story going on, but sometime tell me how I'm missing the title, please.
Rooftop view.
Nice silhouette. I like the colors. It's just simple. We're sitting on the rooftop view. Not much more I can say about it. I'll give this a 7. It kind of, that impact, that's kind of why I hesitated there on an image. Of what I'm looking for is that impact, and is it going to take me to something that's wow, and I have to keep looking, or sometimes, oh yeah, that's cool, and then it kind of fades. Like, unfortunately, this just fades a little bit after that, so we'll go to 7.
Still life, Prince Nymph on red wine.
Somebody spent as much time with the title as creating this image here. Again, really a unique. And can you move your cursor off the scene there? I keep looking at, trying to figure what's.
That's yours, Karina.
How do I turn that?
Just move your mouse.
Oh, the mouse.
Yeah.
Oh,
It just keeps like this. Thinking of mine. Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, anyways, yeah, so I think it's just very creative, a nice reflection to set this up. Background's a little distracting. I feel like there's a halo kind of a feeling around the top pieces, whatever you call it, of the fly. Maybe it's just where it sits, but it is a little distracting. But I'm kind of losing a focal point in this one though. I'm going to give this a 7, and yeah, it's just like kind of, again, I lost the impact as it was 7.
Taking flight.
Yes, they are great silhouettes. And if you were somebody want to make money, you can cut these out, sell them on the internet for people. But good capture. I mean, it's nice, clean silhouettes on all these birds. I think I would like to maybe seen a couple of the birds that are really close to the edge of the image cut out or moved. Because again, anytime you get something at the edge of your image, it creates a little bit of tension. Maybe that's kind of what you were going for, because anytime you heard a flock of birds take off, it is a little bit chaotic, there's no doubt about that. Nice color harmony. The blues in the mountains are a little bit not believable, not realistic. I think if we could have maybe darkened that or taken that into a little bit lesser of a blue, but nice capture, but I'll give it a 7 because of those reasons.
Tip of the iceberg.
There's great composition on this. We've got triangles are very pleasing to the human psyche. We've got that going on with the iceberg itself, then the iceberg and the reflection, of course, the mass of the boat. Then you come from the outline of the iceberg to the boat and then up the side. I mean, just everywhere. There's a lot of beautiful symmetry in this asymmetrically cropped image. I know you're doing a good job. Yeah, very nice. Again, here's one I talked about. I refer to the horizon line being right in the middle. This works just great. I guess because the boat kind of blocks half of it or some of it, and it's not really an obvious horizon line. It's just more the symmetry we're seeing. Colors are nice, beautiful, believable blues in the ice. The boat looks great. This is very strong. Good sky, good reflection. Gives a 10.
Tiger soak.
Nice capture of this land there in the water soaking. I mean, it's crisp and the detail, all the hairs, the whites. Nice reflection. It's a little bit softer, so it keeps the attention on the cat itself. And this is tough. The background behind the tiger is a little distracting. I know it's kind of like this. You get dirt and weeds and stuff. And so I'm not necessarily saying we need to change that, but sometimes for competition that kind of holds it back from going higher. But I will give this an 8. I think it was a nice capture as it is.
Twilight landing.
Nice clean silhouette, beautiful colors in the sky. Definitely some action here. Look at the talons ready to grab onto the landing post there. Just nice timing in your part. Definitely give this an 8.
Under Vasquez Boulevard.
So this one really intrigued me when I saw it before. It's just really neat reflections. The reflections are a little bit deeper, so it gives us a little bit more of a depth from foreground to middle ground and through the post pillars back to the back of the bridge back there. Nice soft colors, just kind of balances it all out. And again, this is one of those times when talk about the horizon line, this works very well. I think, just refer to the title. I think you could have maybe been a little bit more creative because, again, don't get me wrong, not to say it's a bad title, but just naming what it is fine. But we want to try and inject some emotion or some excitement about it. I don't have another title on the top of my head, but sometimes just calling it Under the Bridge kind of, it hit me harder than the title kind of let me down. Anyways, I'm still going to give this a 9 because I think it's in that Backblaze logo is perfect on there. But yeah, no, I think he handles well. Look at the detail. It's just crisp. Even look at the highlights on the reflection of the back wall in the reflection of the water. Look at that down there. Nice job. 9, I said, right?
Yes. Waiting.
Great story here. You can really, what are we waiting on? We're waiting for this old chair. Are we waiting something, a religious, spiritual factor of the church? I mean, it's just so many different ways you can go with this title. Composition is really simple. I like the angle, color harmony. Man, it's it just screams grunge, but it also screams. Like I said, the story here from this old bench that who knows when the last time a human being actually sat on it, to the church, to life, to the American flag. I mean, just a really strong concept. The more I look at this, the stronger it gets for me. I think it's 10. Very nicely done. I don't know if you meant all those things they shot it, but good job.
Watercolor.
So, you know, then again, this is, I like this kind of title because it's a good, nice play on words here. Again, just a very soft, non-specific image, but gosh, the kind of thing you definitely hang on your wall because it just is inviting and soft and just makes you want to, again, no one focal point, but you travel all around, you start looking at patterns and repetitions, color harmony, and it's just very nice. Yeah, I can see this as a 9.
Wet sand.
I'm sorry, wet sand?
Wet sand.
Oh, okay. I have to say, when I saw this the first time up, I understand why the wet sand is, it's just a title I'm kind of wondering about, though. I think, again, titles, okay, wet sand, it's just descriptive. That's fine, nothing wrong with that. But I think it could have been something a little bit more impactful. We think about these sand dunes and the height and the grandeur of these things. The other side of it too is the tones of the cold tones of the blue, purpley shadows are, and I know that happens when we shoot it with raw, but I definitely recommend pull those away, take those down very soft. Blue's fine, very subtle, so that purpley cast really kind of is almost offensive to me. Nothing personal, I'm not trying to be mean about it. I think the composition is strong. It's great depth and wander through these dune tops and take us all the way through the scene. Put that cyan blue in the background and the purple color shadows doesn't work for me. Sorry. I mean, so much so that I'm gonna give it a 7. But I think you have something here that you need to work on and do it because I think it's an outstanding capture. The color tones are I'll stop right there. I'm not trying to be mean, I'm sorry. It just could be different and I think would score higher. So 7.
Okay, that's the last of the advanced color. And you had 7 10s in here.
Well, good job, everybody.
Everybody gets a.
This is where
Everybody gets a ribbon, right?
Time. You get it in?
that means the next group suffers because they need to give us 10.
I think we like 10s.
No, I think you guys are doing it. I'm sorry, you nailed me. So you guys are doing great work here.
Okay, you gotta pick one of those guys.
Thanks a lot.
Next time.
I mean that the nice way.
You should give it a 5. And then you can.
Wow.
But stick it.
Oh, wow. I think the iceberg in the boat is going to be my choice.
Right.
Great images. though.
All of them are beautiful. All of them are done well. That one just has a lot of great impact. And that's what I keep going back to.
Tip of the iceberg.
Tip of the iceberg.
Okay, thank you for doing that one. Now we're gonna do beginner, intermediate, digital mono.
This is number 23.
Yeah, this is number 23.
Yeah.
Okay, so
That's a mere shadow of itself.
very creative. So I was talking about titles that really creates a story and makes you really look at this comparative between the shadow and the subject, and it really makes you start You don't want to make a judge think too much, though. Keep that in mind. We're not all that smart. But I think this is just really creates a good story. It's so simple. It's just clean and done well. And I think what really plays up this well is just the vignette of the highlight of the light on the whatever this is, as opposed to just evenly lit room. Just a really neat concept. It's 9.
Black to gray.
And this stuff is just wow. Beautiful rendition, excuse me, from front to back. Slightest bit of detail in the foreground, which is nice. Gives us a grounding, gives us a base to the image. The tonality throughout each one of the hills, and then the sky still has just a little bit of something in it, so we don't get lost back there. So this is gonna definitely be a 10. I get myself in trouble already. You guys do good work. Stop doing good work. Easier to score low.
Curvy parallels.
We're gonna start doing 9.5s or 8. Okay, this one really hit me too when it came up before. Just the shadowing throughout, like this first piece on the left, you got a foreground, and then it falls into a shadow, so it separates it from the. So we basically have a highlight on the left and a shadow at that point, then a highlight of the next piece, and then the back piece, and then you get the darker sky. So you get this wonderful depth throughout. Up on it. 10.
10, okay.
Yeah, the rest of the images are gonna have to automatically be 7s and 8s.
Eddie's Bridge.
Interesting perspective, different. I like that coming up from underneath for change on a bridge. Nice depth from right here in front of us to going away to the left, kind of gives us a good story. Things that kind of held me back from going higher when I saw it before was the clouds are pretty blown out, and I think they're close enough they can be controlled. We're not going to get detail on the highlight on that girder right there. That's just a smooth surface, but the clouds, and then having the buildings on the far right be coming in at an angle it just doesn't help the story. If those weren't there and the bridge was there by itself or just tree line, I think it would be a little stronger, but those buildings being a little cockeyed just kind of messes it up for me. But I think I'm going to give it a 7 because of the reasons I stated.
And I don't know what the title is on this one here.
Didn't we vote on it?
We did
One of
vote.
the advanced categories or one of the strength categories?
Yeah, but I'm still trying to figure out the scoring sheet because we're reading off the same sheet.
Yep.
Right now, I've got the.
We'll go to the next one here.
Oh, okay.
Partial.
Well, you know what, this is done very well. I like the position of where the moon is placed in the scene. It almost gives us this feeling like it's leaving or we're looking in the shadow. It dissolves nicely into the black of the sky. Kind of wish there wasn't a white border. Just to the maker, look at this without the white border. I think you'll have something even more impactful because the moon, I mean, look at the detail and you can see the hole and just done really nicely, but the white border keeps pulling me out. I'm gonna give it an 8. I think if you do this again, try it without the white border. I think it's gonna, and maybe again, real touchy, maybe just move the moon in to this, not to the center, but move it away from the right just a little bit more. It's starting a little close. But I like the whole concept of where you've gone on this. Good job.
Quiet late afternoon.
Definitely have the feeling of being a quiet area, a nice little place to sit for a while. I love the antique-y vintage kind of feel, the softer, whiter vignette. Just kind of is done very nicely. It's there, but it's not taking over. You keep coming right back to that bench. Nice placement. I'll give this an 8.
Shadows of Generations.
Again, another nice story here with this title. It allows us to look at each one of the animals and realize that we have some different generations. We have different We have great depth in here, good shadow, good, yeah, highlights and shadows. I'm gonna give it an 8.
Shadows of the past.
Again, just a wonderful story here. Especially looking at on the computer screen here, it's just very, it pulls us in. The tonal range really nailed the whole zone system here. Detail in the whites, a bit of shadow in the back of the shutter. It's just separation between the chair and the table, subtle, but it's there. And then the chair against the wall. To me, that makes the whole scene right there. It brings you the nice, beautiful daylight coming in, showing itself on the table and the bowl there. And then that little chair in the background just gives it the depth. I think you probably can tell where I'm going with this one.
9.6.
No, I was gonna do 11 with this one. That's beautiful. This is one that I wish I had my name on it. The only thing I can say, and a minor point, but that there's whatever's hanging on the wall up in the center, behind where that black spot pulls my eye. I talk about myself, I would have taken that out, but otherwise, nice job, really nice job. So yeah, 10, I didn't say that.
The runner.
When we saw this the first time, I thought that there was a moon in it, but it was your cursor. I thought he was running at night with a moon. Oh,
Well, you know, this has got a really cool story to it.
no, it changes everything.
Yeah, but there was a moon in it, yeah.
Oh, my goodness, that was my bad.
But it's again, you know, for as deep as the tones are, again, looking at the computer screen, it's done very nicely. The runner stands out nicely. It's strong, but I'm not getting. I guess the feeling of running. I mean, the person's in that pose, but I really don't get the feeling that they're running. So that kind of throws me off from what the title. What was the title again?
The runner.
The runner.
Runner, yeah. I mean, I guess it was a fast shutter. If you look at the water. Anyways, but I'll give this an 8.
Is walking between the lines.
Again, a nice title. Gives a good story. I love the curvature, the angle you've chosen to shoot this in. The high contrast is done nicely. I don't mind the shadows dropping off, which of course is part of the theme here, but you've got some great texture where the sunlight, where the reflections are. So we didn't lose those into just nothing. Just enough separation between the person and the background. Then it goes into darkness. And I like that kind of stuff. Maybe this is a 9. It's just got a lot of great movements. It really pulls us through. And then you just come back to the bottom right and start again. So works for me.
Which way?
So what caught my eye about this first is the beautiful use of highlight, shadow, highlight, shadow. Look at the wall behind the person walking, then a little bit of shadow, then the back of the head is in shadow, and the face is in highlight, and the wall past the face is in shadow. That creates such wonderful depth. This is very three-dimensional. I say, unfortunately, the strong shadow, the big person on the wall, and the light and this tower that's the missile that's coming in there just really, sorry, I'm trying to make fun of it. And I know this is a difficult thing because the tone on the wall and the window and everything, but those big shadows just really kind of knock it down for me. I mean, that's the kind of thing when you ask yourself, how to get rid of those. I mean, they exist. There's the light in the upper right-hand corner. So I'm just kind of torn, but sometimes you get a great part of one scene and then something else that just really stops it from going higher. I'm going to give this an 8. It's the maker. Think about some of those things, whether you get rid of some of the shadows. I mean, you could easily get rid of the person. I think that's what that gets me. the most. You could make that smaller, you could get rid of it. I don't think the light necessarily dictates that there has to be that shadow on the wall right there. Anyways.
This one's 19th Street Bridge.
Okay. I like that you're close, showing us this strength of the bridge right here in the front foreground and the perspective going down through the scene. I feel like we kind of lose the person in the scene just a little bit between them and the background. And then we've lost a lot of detail, it seems like, in the sky and the foot, the surface of the bridge. So I'll give that a 7 for these reasons.
Okay, you got 2 10s in here.
I got 3.
3. Where's the other one? Oh, yeah, 3. Shadows of the Past.
The kitchen, yeah.
Yeah, that's gonna be my number 10. The one on the right, the kitchen.
The kitchen.
The other 2 are outstanding imagery, don't get me wrong, but the story that's there in that kitchen is just what we look for in a photograph. Well done.
All right. Thank you. Okay, now we're gonna go to advanced mono. This one's Blowing in the Wind.
10.
Uh-oh.
Seriously, this is just, but this came up before. Yeah. Not necessarily an easy thing to do because you've got some pretty heavy shadow in the stem of the base of the flower. Again, there's detail in there, but the delicate textures in the petals that you can see the edges of the petals against the white. Yeah. 10.
Christmas Light.
You know, I tried to figure that out by the title Christmas Light, and it didn't really help me any. I don't mean that as a bad thing. It's just very well done. I wish it was just a little smaller in the framing. And then whatever is happening in the background up in the upper right and left, it is not helping the scene, so that's kind of distracting. But to best look at the tones and the shading, the gradations and the shadows, the highlights, I'll give this a 9. Really an interesting perspective. Even all the spirals are highlighted.
And this one's Cold Morning.
I get the idea, and it's definitely giving me the feeling of cold. In this case, I'm not feeling a pull or draw into the scene. The mountain is, I realize, soft in the clouds, but there's nothing strong enough in the foreground to pull me in of interest. I know, as I mentioned before, sometimes there's not a focal point, and that's okay, but this one needs something a little bit more, I think, to pull some attention, and so because they'll give it a 7.
Family Trek.
It's funny, I kind of, with the age of digital imagery, I was looking at the others to make sure they were 3 different ones, not just different sizes. Not that that matters, but you know, it's kind of where our minds go now, so I guess my point is, which I'm sorry that happens, but just a neat capture, good story. I'm looking at, you know, maybe there's a lot of skies that necessary, prep it down to a really long, narrow, since it's a silhouette. I don't know, just kind of, I'm gonna give it a 7. It's got something there, but it's not grabbing me.
Follow Me.
This is kind of a cool story. Look at the great leading lines of everything, the roof, the fence, the shadows and highlights in the walkway and down to the bike. The bike is kind of silhouetted there against the bright sky. The bright sky, I wish it would have been a little bit deeper, a little bit of some clouding or something in there, because it kind of just pulls me right past the bike. But I think the concept is pretty good. I'll give it an 8.
Frosted tree.
Really clever. I mean, it would be easy just to fill up the frame of this tree. It's a nice shape to a tree, and anytime a photographer looks at a tree, we're looking for the right angle, the right shape, and the right balance. I think you found it here, like the position, it's kind of in that lower third to the right. The size is fine, all that emptiness. I'm gonna talk about the title a little bit. Again, this is one of those, I think you kind of missed it on the title, because you could have had something really strong with lonely or barren landscape, or something that really creates a feeling or again, it's just me as one person saying this, but I think this, and that because a great title is worth a point too. So I will give it an 8 for what you have here. So nice work.
Goat on the mountain.
Yes, it is. Again, nice capture here with I like that the background has a little bit of something back there. It's not just get blown out, but yet you can still see some nice detail in the highlights of his coat. I wish it was a little smaller, a little, I kind of feel like it's right in our face. I mean, we've got such vastness there that, again, kind of like, you know, we mentioned about the tree in the last scene. I hate to compare imagery, but that concept that the guy would be just a little small, I think we would have had that more of a feeling of being that remote location that these guys wander around on. But technically it's done well, like the and even the title I think could be a little bit stronger, but we'll go with an 8 on this one. Technically it's done very well.
Illuminating.
So highlight, I want to say silhouettes, highlighted areas of the human body are tricky. The pose is done very nicely. It's very flattering to the girl and for us to view. Her hair kind of pulls me away. I'm sorry, tell me the title again. Illuminating.
Illuminating.
And I realize that it looks like we got holding her hair with one hand, it's kind of falling. But because it's the brightest part and it's got a lot going on, it really pulls my eye away, which I know it's like, how does that happen? Sorry, I had to get a bad joke in there somewhere, right? If you just picture if the hair would have been soft and smooth and pulled up in one lump to show the curve of her neck and her shoulder, I think you might have had something a little stronger. This is the kind of thing I'll tell the maker, do this again. But maybe play the hair down. Don't let the hair be so, because it's so busy that it's pulling me away from the concept. And no more bad jokes. So we'll give it an 8.
In native glasses.
One more time in what?
In native glasses.
Okay. For the face, huh? Again, nice capture. This is one of those, I think, having the image be very large and filling the frame, I think adds to it, makes it very powerful. You know, good tonal range. It looks like it might be I don't know, an HDR or something. Which on a face like this you can get by with. Sometimes you start getting more detail as necessary, but I think this works pretty well. Nice expression. The reflections really tell that story. Of course, the title ties it in, which is what I've been mentioning all along. So this is really nice. We'll give this a 9. Good character study.
Lean on me.
Nice title, gives us a good story, telling us the relationship between these two tulips. I feel like I would like to have seen doing a solid black background is dangerous unless you have dropped in a kicker light. Because we lose the subject, the flowers in this case, into the background. They almost look like they're cut out. Again, I'll say to the maker, do this again, but add a kicker light. Get something to just give us some depth to the flowers, give us a little bit of softer light around the edges. I think it has something stronger. I'll give it a 7 because it's technically, I feel like it's just kind of lacking in the quality of the black and white.
Lonely Tree.
Well, again, I look, the composition is nice. The hill gives us some, diagonals are a lot, well, I should say that. Verticals and horizontals are very strong lines, but they're so strong, they tend to. Just be in your face. Diagonals are very much more pleasing to the human eye. So this is a good choice. Unfortunately, the clouds are, man, if those clouds weren't there. I know that's maybe not the right thing to say. As a judge, scored as it is, but just to kind of help you in the future, if that was just a solid gray sky, and I think it would have been that much more powerful. The shape of the tree is nice placement. And I'm not sure if it's a infrared or just a high contrast. Lost some detail in the foreground here right by the shadow. But I'll give it a 7, mostly for quality issues.
Mist on the Water.
Really nice tonal range here throughout this, good detail in the shadows. Into the deep shadows there, which are fine having them go that dark and like in the middle of the picture and up in the trees. And then getting into the higher tones of the tops of the leaves, you can see a nice reflection. Highlights, I should say, on the leaf tops towards the top of the scene. The mist of the water. And I will say, guys, looking at the computer screen, this image has a lot more guts to it, for sure. I'm going to give this a 9. It just has a really nice, inviting, very old world black and white feel.
Nuremberg Dungeon.
Well, again, at first impact, it was strong, but it's unfortunately it's kind of fleeting a little bit. You can use your concept if you want to use your dream and think about where it is and where it is. And it goes into this blackness at the end of the tunnel. That blackness is very strong and it just pulls me right out past everything. It doesn't let me stay in it too long, but technically it's done nicely. Good detail, the shadows and highlights throughout. As far as some highlights, maybe just above the lamps there that are a little bit blown out, but nothing serious. But I will give this an 8.
On the Edge.
I think this is a very strong image. Having the bear this full and close to the top and the reflection be close to the bottom. Even the horizon line has got just a little tip to it, which normally a judge would jump on that and say, hey, no, this is really good. The tonal range again on the computer screen here is outstanding. The white of the background, the reflection of water is clean and nice and not overly bright. There's great, detail and separation between the bear's white coat and the background. That right there alone is worth a 10. So I guess I'll give it a 10. Very nicely done. Great composition.
Stoneman Bridge.
Good eye for seeing this composition standing out there. Because it's easy just to do a full bridge or maybe the full arch, but just taking part of the arch and part of the doorway and I shouldn't say doorway, but the smaller arch. Just nicely done. Good black and white, good tone. The placement of where the door on the right is kind of, we've got thirds going on here. Nice, I'll give this a 9. Good quality throughout.
Low Entry.
Yeah, see, I talk about titles, but you can see what this does. It makes you think about, yeah, you can just picture them as they quickly slow down, throw that umbrella out there before they hit the water. It really helps tell that story. Man, there's wonderful detail, even on the brightest white there at the just below the bird's belly on the back wing there, there's a nice little detail in there, and in the shadow side, the legs. Really, you don't see this kind of a capture of a bird. If you see the wings like this, you don't see the head, because they're covering it up. So there's, kudos to the maker here too. I'm gonna have to go to 10, guys. Stop taking nice pictures here.
Triangular.
That's right on. I mean, look at the musculature. This is so well lit. Again, here's a case where the background being high key does not take over. Sometimes you'll get a glow onto the subject from the background, but this does not. You have definite clean lines of her arms and legs. Look at the highlighter on her hair. But look at the musculature. There's even highlights in the muscles in her legs and her forearm and her hand. And doggone it. Okay, Ted. This is, the more I look at this is just exceptional. 95.
Underground figure.
Great idea. Interesting perspective. My first thought is, did you have to crawl into this dark tunnel by yourself to shoot back out? The pose and everything is just really unique. I'll give this an 8. Really, really pretty cool.
Unending guard.
Great. Just of course, the story, we all know the story is just so strong. But the fact that we've left the guard coming in, entering the scene from the left is nice. The tomb being prominent, but the detail throughout is outstanding. Just all the way through into the blacks. Again, good story, and the title is done very well. I'll give this a 9.
Uphill.
It's almost a optical illusion if you look at it for a minute, because you got these perfectly straight windows, and then all of a sudden you look down and go, wait a minute, around the boardwalk's not straight, but it's obviously not supposed to be. Don't get me wrong, but it just plays with the eye. There's just the slightest amount of detail in the blacks of the windows from the building across, so it doesn't just go black. Boardwalk looks a little blown out. I wish I could see a little more detail on that. Minor point, but again, just have to give a 9 to this one. But the concept is good. One other thing I'll throw at you real quick is just the post on the left. I kind of wish that was cropped out, because then you've got uniformity of the windows, asymmetrical, then you'd have asymmetrical of the 2 posts and the 3 scoops of the chain. So maybe just crop it on the left side a little bit. That's just me.
Urban optics.
What was the first word?
Urban.
Oh, urban. Okay. Lots going on here. Again, one of these abstract kind of feelings where it doesn't need to have a focal point, and yet you kind of bounce around from some of those bigger, brighter reflections of probably the building across the way, like these areas here. So, but it's nice. It makes a nice balance going throughout the diagonal lines of the edges there, and so on. I'll give this an 8.
Vocal woof.
Good concept. I like the little story that you put in there, vocal wolf. It's a tongue twister. Nice. The diagonal and horizon line helps. Nice strong reflection. It seems like a very bright scene. We lost a little detail. The screen on the TV. Oh, it's because the TV screen. That's fine. And you can't see it all there. Sorry about that. I'm gonna give this 8.
What remains?
This foreground framing with this tree was done nicely. Otherwise, it could just be boring real fast. Just, I mean, it's an interesting area, but this tree just helps give us some depth. Nice job there. What remains, is that the title?
Yes.
And a good title, it gives us something to think about. What was this? What had happened here over the years? Just nicely done. I'll go to 8 on this one too.
Who's the fairest of all?
Well, I'm glad you placed the reflection of the bird into the silhouette of the tree. So, because I think we'd have a hard time finding it in the rest of the background. So that was a good job. Excuse me. Bird stands out nicely. It's the brightest part of the scene. Good reflection. Awful lot of chaotic lines of reflection of the trees. Again, not much you can do about that, but it does tend to pull me away from the bird quite a bit. So I think because I will give it 7.
Tree, snow, shadow.
This is kind of a nice mixture between abstract and reality. You get an awful lot of lines that from first view don't line up with anything, but obviously other trees I've seen. And when you go through, I go look at the tree on the left as being my starting point. There's an awful lot going on. I kind of get a little lost in there. I think it's kind of a neat idea, but I'm not sure that happened strong enough. Sorry, let me give this a 7.
Okay, we got 3 10s. Blowing in the wind.
Blowing in the wind, on the edge, slow entry, triangular. On the edges of the polar bear. And then
Triangular.
triangular and slow entry, the bird right before it.
And slow entry.
Those 4.
God, who got me into this mess? Take the bird out of there, please. Just the other 3.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry, you're fine. How much time do we have? We'll be here for a while.
Cops will be here in about 17 minutes.
Oh, really? Okay. Those of you who didn't make it. Gosh golly, guys. I'm gonna have to go with the girl on the right.
All right.
I love the polar bear though too.
All 3 of those.
All 3 of them are all 3 of the makers. Absolutely outstanding. This one just is nice. Nice work. Hey, real quick, go to the color one that's there. So not to argue with your rules or anything, but technically this is monochrome. Black is not a color. Black and white, if your category was black and white, you'd have a different story. But monochrome technically reads one color. It can be in here, doesn't matter what the color is. It can be purple, it can be yellow, it can be pink, but you have one color. So that's where I just want to clarify what you guys are looking for, because you call it monochrome and not black and white. So monochrome says more of what's possible than black and white just says that. Because in black and white, some competitions will have sepia tone and selenium tone, which is a blue, and sometimes groups go, that's not black and white. So I just kind of go with what your thoughts are.
While this one's up there, you want to give this one a review?
Oh, I sure can. I mean, I think it's a great capture. A lot of times with the craziness of birds, they have all of them calm except for one goofball in the middle who can't decide if he should be joining the group or leaving. The shadows are subtle, but they reflect. And again, as it sits, regardless of how you guys read the rules, I think the gold really makes a statement here because it does show the end of the day. It does show this reason for the silhouettes, the nice clean lines, lots of weeds, but they don't take over the birds stand out. I mean, I would give this probably a score of a 9. Just because I think it's in the craziness of photographing birds, you've got one that really stands out and the others are supporting features. Not to change the rules, don't get me wrong, I just want to throw that at you from what I understand of the difference between black and white and a monochrome. So,
Yeah, and thank you. Maybe that's something we can take a look at and consider, like further define what monochrome is. And what I don't know is like, from a processing standpoint, is this processed in like a software that would be like a sepia tone, or is that?
it could very much be a straight shot by just changing the opacity
Right.
of the, to get that's letting the sun right off.
Chuck, did you get scores?
Yeah.
So scored up.
All right, so going back to beginner intermediate digital color. First place and Judges Award, Stirring Up Reflections by Susan Langer. Second place, Through the Looking Glass, Matt Gates. Third place, Disagreement and Symmetry, also Matt Gates. And the honorable mention goes to Alone in Traffic, David Jenny. Advanced Digital Color. First place and the Judges Award, Tip of the Iceberg, Brandon Golly.
Right.
Second place under Vasquez Boulevard, Stephen Holst. Third place, Molten Bridge, Chuck Rasco. And honorable mention, Closer Encounters, Darren White. Beginner intermediate digital mono, first place, partial, Bruce Ryman. Second place, and the Judges Award, Shadows of the Past, Jane Richards. Third place, Black to Gray, Bruce Ryman. And honorable mention goes to Curving Parallels, Kathy Bela. And lastly, Advanced Digital Mono. Judges Award went to Triangular. I don't have a name on that one. Didn't have it on this. Is that? That is Dave Purcell.
It had your fingerprints on it.
We speed up, we were talking about that over here.
First place. I also don't have a name on this one. In Native Glasses. You know who that one was?
John Bumgarner.
It was John Baumgartner.
Name glass.
Gosh.
I'm pretty sure that was his.
Okay. Second place, Blowing in the Wind, Kathy Sneed. Third place, Mist on the Water. I don't have a name on that one either.
That's mine, check.
Okay.
And honorable mention is Lonely Tree. I'm thinking of Michael Ryan, but I don't have a name on that one either.
Yeah, that was, yeah.
Well, what about native glasses or,
You've got the name on it, I think. Don't you?
well, no, he might not, but I'm just saying. If you look closely in the mirror glass.
It does
you
say
can see
John
it.
Baumgartner.
Two different figures.
Yeah, one should be John Bumgarner.
It does say John Baumgartner.
Okay.
That's when I first saw it. I said, there's two different images in the glasses.
One should be Pat and one should be John.
So we did that me one, with the birds on the log.
Yeah, who was that?
That'd be Paul Malinowski.
Who?
Paul. Is
Reflection
that
of
Paul?
me.
I think it's another, Better Than Me.
The other Baumgartner is on the screen.
No, if you go to the.
That could have been Corey,
Or Corey.
all the birds on the
Yeah,
tree.
I think that was her.
Does Corey throw it out? Just well, oh, sorry, she's listening. That's good.
All right, for those of you at home, we're 10 minutes past, so we're gonna end the Zoom call.
Yeah, and real quick, thank you, everybody who did join from home. And thanks for many really good images tonight. I want to thank Jeff also for some really good.
My pleasure. You can see how hard it was for me to get crappy scores. You guys did such a good job.
Great job. Thank you. And
Thanks, guys.
thank you for, all that. I know a lot of